Welcome to the Ultimate Dental Podcast, the place where you can learn how to create a dental practice and a business life that you love. Listen in with Dr. David Moffet as he interviews successful entrepreneurs and successful business people and successful dentists as they share their business successes, their stories, and their breakthrough ideas. Sharing pearls of wisdom that you can take back to your practice and implement immediately so that you can have that great practice with more patients, higher profits, and less stress. This is the podcast where great dental practices meet with successful business processes. Thanks for tuning in to the Ultimate Dental Podcast, the podcast where thought leaders, industry experts, and thriving practice owners reveal their very best tips, tools, and strategies that will help you to grow your dental practice faster. Now, here's your host, Dr. David Moffet.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Ultimate Dental Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. David Moffet, down in Burrowang, New South Wales, God's country, as some people would say, but I might have a challenge from today's guest who lives up in the Shire in Sydney. Mark Burns, you believe that the Shire is God's country, I understand.
Well, thanks for the intro, Dave, and thanks for today. Well, I've actually got official certification that it is. So on the weekend, the area that we live in, the beaches that slide across the front of Cronulla, it's known as Bait Bay, was voted best beach in Australia 2026. So that'll be nice for the house prices, but why would you move away?
Well, funnily enough, Mark, when I graduated, my first job was in Sutherland, and so I lived in the Shire, but being the social climber that I am, I moved to Parramatta and bought a practice there. History has funny ways of working things out. Anyway, I've got you here as a guest today because you're the head of CorePractice. What's your official title with CorePractice?
CEO.
You're the CEO of CorePractice in Australia or globally?
Well, it's we are a global business now. So we started off in Australia. We've had a lot of success in New Zealand, and from our learnings, and I guess I go back the first 12 months, it really was a steep learning curve. I've been in dental in Australia for over 30 years on the consumables, started off on the consumable side of the business with Martin Hallis. So those that are old enough to remember, then with Siemens, then the equipment name changed to Sirona, and then direct with Sirona Dental Systems, now Dentsply Sirona. So I've been around the focus generally on that equipment consumable side of the business. So going into software, I was looking for my next opportunity and obviously where we can make a difference or I could make a difference with the Australian dental market. And moving into the cloud just seems like a really obvious fit. All of us in our personal life, we're all on the cloud. We've got everything on our phone. We can do everything that we want to do and more from our mobile phone from anywhere. However, I feel on the software side of things, we're back in the 80s when we used to want to send an email. We had to run up to that spare room in the house and send an email and then come back down. And with CorePractice, you can access it on any device from any place at any time.
So it's a dental software company, and you've brushed over a long history of 30 years in about 30 seconds there.
Yes.
How did you start off in dental? How did you went from school to dental? Is that what happened?
It was, interesting. Just stumbled into it. So I emigrated from England as an 18-year-old with my parents, and had numerous jobs, and then ended up at uni. Did my first 3 years at uni, and then did my final year at Hallis. I was traveling around. I was up in Cairns. I missed the start of uni. Rang up my dad on the before Christmas, saying, I'm not going to be back. I want to stay longer, and he allowed me to stay longer. And then it came close to the start of uni, and I was having so much fun. And I missed the start of uni, much to the disappointment of my parents. And when I came back, they said, "You've got to get a job." And my uncle Peter Burns, who many will know, worked at Hallis. He was a service technician. He got me a job in the warehouse. So from that point, I worked in the warehouse for a while. They knew that I was studying and I was going to go back to the third semester then. And they offered me a job where I could finish my uni and do what they called a cadetship. So I spent time in purchasing, marketing, sales on the product management side of things, and did that last year over 2 years and never looked back. And my passion was in sales and the marketing side of things, which I did in my degree. And it started off with handpieces, sterilizers, then equipment sales, then a New South Wales branch management role, then a national role. It's quite the journey. And working with Sirona, going from being through a distributor to being direct, which we are at CorePractice now. There's a lot of advantages when you're direct in a business. You get to, I guess, drive the narrative and the quality of the product and the service and the support rather than putting it in someone else's hands. So a lot of learnings over the previous sort of 30 years in the dental industry that I've been able to apply to CorePractice.
So CorePractice is a dental practice management software based in the cloud. That's probably the way to sum it up.
Most definitely. It's like any of the apps that we have on our phone. So it's on a web browser. You just visit your web browser account, log in, and you have full access to your system, as do all of your team members. The nice part as well, it allows, if you've got an accountant, to just have access to the financials. If you've got a marketing person local or offshore, and this is the good part about it. So you can now leverage offshore capabilities, which are generally less expensive, into your practice because they have full access. We've got practices that are diverting phone calls or, utilizing AI technology. We'll give Jane AI a plug. Using all these technologies are now far more accessible, bringing the price down, functionality.
Because it's been 12 years since I was a practice principal, a practice owner, and having to do backups and change hard disks every day. That's no longer necessary now that you're cloud-based.
Correct. And, surprisingly still, we're sort of throwing around the numbers, but I would say that 75% of dental clinics are still server-based. So they're still holding their data in that back room in their clinic. And, if you're doing CBCTs, which is growing, you still, as of today, sort of have to have that server in your back room. But technology, we're about to integrate with Dentsply Sirona's DS Core, and that gives you the capability of having all of that up in the cloud now. That's really, really the only restriction for a dental clinic to have a server is they're doing those large volume CBCT x-rays.
So they can't upload them to the cloud, or it takes up too much space?
You can upload them to the cloud now, but it's the viewing that is the hard part. So all of these software companies are now giving the capability to that. They call it a NAS unit. I won't go too technical, but they call it a NAS unit whereby you can take a CBCT, goes through the NAS unit, then into the cloud. And then when you want to view it, you can view it on the cloud through a virtual viewer. And you'll even be able to have the capabilities of doing implant planning and everything that you used to do locally, fully in the cloud, and again from anywhere on any device at any time.
This is a tangential question just on CBCTs, but surely, when you go and have an X-ray at an X-ray place, you can get your images on your phone. Why can't CBCTs be shared with that same technology, or is there too much volume?
I guess when they give it to you, they sort of either give you a slice or a snippet, like this is the entire volume. So the entire volume where you can spin it, you can go into slices. The capabilities, generally that's just viewing. It's the capabilities of being able to zoom in, to be able to map a nerve. Probably too technical for me, but it can't. It's more so the viewing side of things and the capabilities. But now that we're sliding into the cloud, those capabilities are far stronger. And then utilizing AI as well, capabilities to be able to identify, say, caries or identify and travel right down through the canal or missing teeth. The software is just fantastic to be able to glance across all of your thousands of patients, look at images, look at x-rays, and find patients that require assistance.
Very, very important. Tell me, core practice, one of the things that I like about what you've told me in the past about core practice is how easy it is to integrate with other softwares other applications, as opposed to other dental practice management softwares, which are basically an island on their own that have very poor integration. Is that a good way of summing up where core is? Core practice is really at the forefront in terms of being able to adapt to different applications that are out there, that a dentist may want to pick and choose those applications.
For sure. And I guess if we step back, we describe CorePractice as a practice management software. I think that's slightly sort of, I guess, undoing its full capabilities. It is a practice dental tool. So CorePractice as a product will assist you with filling your appointment book. So whether that be from data mining within the product. Practices have thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of patients. And I go to lectures and sometimes we're really hung up on getting new patients. Whereas I believe in core practice, before investing in trying to get new patients, it's all about communicating with the patients you have on what the practice actually offers. And I challenge dentists, when I chat to them, and practice owners, that do their patients really know what you do within your clinic? They come in, they may see a poster or two, but generally they're coming in for a checkup, or they're coming in for what they need. And generally they don't ask for what they want, or they're not aware of what the clinic does. So core practice is a PMS. We can drive patients to the appointment book from your current database of patients. And also they like you. They've been there before. They know where you are. You're comfortable. They don't really want to go somewhere else, but patients aren't loyal now. So they're sitting there on their social media. They might see an ad for a whitening, or they might see an ad for clear aligners, and the clinic's made it easy, and they will hop. So we've got to educate the patients within the clinic of what that clinic does. So we can drive patients from your own database. We can also assist with tools that allow you to get those new patients. So whether it be using social media, we've got 4 or 5 integrations with partners that will drive patients to your appointment book, the likes of Hot Doc, Health Engine, Health Share, Fixed Price Dental, AirSmile. These are all Aussie tools that communicate with patients and push them through to the nearest dental clinic. And then once they've made that appointment, 67% of those patients are no touch till you get them into the dental clinic. So they're communicated to, obviously, with their appointment. They're sent a digital medical history form that they complete, put all their medication in. About 80% of our patients are taking a selfie. You have the ability to take a selfie. When Mrs. Jones and Mrs. Smith both arrive into the clinic at the same time, you can greet them because you've got a photo in front of you. And just it's the little 1%ers, in fact, there's so many of these, maybe they're all 0.5%ers, because that just makes the patient experience that much more enjoyable, that keeps them coming back. And, we've reduced our FTAs down now to under 5%. So for those of you out there that can even get that data out of your clinic to find out what your FTA, UTAs are, we've got it down to below 5%. We do that in a number of ways. We send an email, we populate their personal calendars. We work with a company that specializes in UX, which is the user experience. And it's all about sending these messages out at the right time, with the right wording, keeping it simple, that allows them to confirm their appointment and get into the clinic. So, and then once they're in the clinic, as I said, they filled that medical history form. There's tech where we hold their health fund details on file. So they forget their card, you can still process them. You can still, or you have the capability of giving them an in-chair quote, just the press of a button. So many clinics are running to the front desk, grabbing the physical card, swiping it, typing all the item codes in. I believe the limit is 10. So if it's a complex case, you've got to do half the quote, then the other half a quote, and then all the way through from when you've got that patient to doing the charting. It's a lot more modern. So in a core practice clinic, we recommend that the clinics have an iPad for the DA. So they're front and center opposite the dentist. They've got the tablet and they're charting. If they want to take any images, they can quickly snap some shots with that iPad, and the charting is complete. You've got your treatment plan from that chart, or what we have, which is operations. If you've got a patient that you know what the process or the plan is going to be, say clear aligners or a root canal and crown, in one click, you can put that treatment plan as per your preferences, slide it over 3 or 4 appointments, and the patient can walk out with that treatment plan on their phone. We can print it, we can email it, but they've got it on their phone, and we listen to our practices, and we'll have the capability very soon for at the bottom of that treatment plan to say, book the appointment. And then it automatically pushes, because you know the times and the slots, into 4 appointments to come back to you to confirm those. And then all the way, so we've done the treatment, we've put the plan together, and then all of that data is in CorePractice for automation, post-treatment automation. If they get an implant, rather than the front desk having to remember to send out a communication for them to how to look after their implant, it just automatically sends them something a few days later, a week later. Clear aligners is a great one. When I chat to dentists, the big challenge is getting the patients to wear their clear aligners, getting them to change their clear aligners. So you can automate an SMS every month just to say, hey, Mark, it's now time to change. For us to be able to make agile decisions as well, the reporting is real time. So I know in other softwares, you got to wait till the end of the month before you know how well you've done, how well a promo went. In CorePractice, you can see on day 2, and you can make business decisions, informed business decisions with the data that you've got at your fingertips. And your clinicians as well can see how they're traveling to the month, which patients they've seen, what they've got coming up. It's an exciting space. And then back to the original question, David, about the partners. We're constantly improving the product, and CorePractice is at a stage in our journey where every dollar goes back into CorePractice. Every dollar goes back in to develop and keep doing things better. And we've got a fair idea of what is our space, and we want to be able to focus on the product. And there's other companies that do certain things a lot better than us. And that's where we have what we call an open API. So it's like, the iPhones are great. What makes an iPhone great, though, is all of the apps that you can have. You go onto the App Store. CorePractice has got its own App Store. So we call it a marketplace. We've got over 25 partners. That is growing at a rate of sort of 1 a month. We allow anybody access to our API as long as they adhere to the security. We have a very high security. We don't want, the possibility of someone getting into the individual dental clinic through the quality of the app that we're partnering with security. So our team, we have ISO 27001. As far as I'm aware, the only cloud software in Australia that has the ISO 27001 certification. So that means that your data is secure. And, how is it secure? We use Microsoft Azure. So Microsoft Azure, if they want to hack your data, they've got to hack Microsoft Azure. So it really is strong. And all of those applications, whether it means pushing patients, we integrate with finance systems like Xero, MyOb, cuts down your accountancy bill, allows you to have more transparency over payments coming in and going out of the clinic. AI is moving at a rapid rate of knots. We've got integrations with the likes of Heidi that do your digital note taking. You can set up your own templates. We've got AI bots, the likes of Jane AI, where they will answer your calls and be fully integrated with the calendar. So if a patient says, I can only come on Wednesday, the bot will say on Wednesday, we've got 10 a.m. Would you like to be booked in? And then goes through the process then of getting reminded about their appointments. We've got clinical AI capabilities through the likes of Cotree. And a lot of these APIs and partners that connect with us are Australian innovations. It's fantastic to see. And touching on Cotree. So Cotree, with the integration, scans everything in CorePractice, images, x-rays and will identify a group of patients that are possibilities for clear alignments. It'll identify patients that may need an implant, so they've got a missing tooth. Whereas previously, to get that information out, if you're using one of the older systems, you were only as good as the treatment plan that you mapped. And even then, can you get all of that data out? We're starting to understand challenges as well. And I spoke about that 5% FTA. It's started to creep up a lot as we're doing social media marketing, for example, a half price whitening campaign. Someone books online at 10 o'clock at night and then gets reminded 2 weeks later and they think, oh, well, I won't go. So we've now implemented the ability to take a deposit from just new patients at the time of booking. And we played around with that number, and $10 people would walk away from, $50 the appointments dropped, and we found $20 was a sweet spot where, I've spent $20, I'm going to go. So we're constantly learning. And the nice part is, we've got data on over 5.5 million patients. So we can implement, we know how patients react time-wise, wording, how they like to be communicated to. Yet you can send as many free emails as you want inside CorePractice, free. But the, I guess, open rate and the action rate is a drip compared to sending out an SMS. Think about ourselves. I respond to pretty much every SMS that comes in at any time.
Yeah, it's amazing. Tell me, with the scans, the digital scanners now, they can upload straight into CorePractice so that the dentist can view that scan, at home. They can just view it on their phone. Can they send that scan to their patient and say, hey, have a look at this. What do you think of, that space that we were talking about? What do you think of that tooth that's protruding there? Can they do that? Is that easy to do with CorePractice?
I guess you think of CorePractice as the hub of the clinic, and then the likes of, say, CEREC. So CEREC would be one of those digital scanners that we're talking about, iTero. So we link with their software. So it's a full direct link. So this is where the landscape is changing. And Sirona, I believe, are one of the first to do it, whereby your intraoral X-ray, your OPGs, your CBCTs are going to be able to be viewed on the cloud. So if you're on cloud, then you're communicating cloud to cloud. So yes, you can access that. If you've got a server and all of your images are sitting on a server in the clinic, then you can't access those images remotely. We do have capabilities where we can mirror what is on your server into CorePractice, so dentists can sit at home on a Sunday night, try and map out their week and see what they've got on the Monday morning, and they can do that with sort of simple x-rays. But I feel if we sit down again in 12 months, David, that will most definitely be capable. All of the big softwares companies have to be working on it, have to be working on getting their images from the hardware in the clinic straight up onto the cloud, and then having some capability to give a snippet or a snapshot, because these images are huge, to the patient, where it's a lighter version so that they can have a look at.
Yeah, I imagine they are. You mean they're a huge file?
Yes, huge.
Not a huge impact.
No,
They're going to be a huge impact too, but
it really will.
I just see the whole potential of a diagnostic full mouth scan
Yes.
as giving the patient a walk around the inside of their mouth, because even showing them photos, Mark, and occlusal photos, and with the mirror taken very professionally, patients kind of glaze over on those. But when you can zoom in and zoom out using the technology that's in the scanners now, there's just so much more potential to look right into that tooth and say, hey, that tooth's sticking up a bit. And they go, oh, you know what? It never bothered me. And then they go home and they look in the mirror and they go, oh, yeah, the doc was right. And then they look at their husband and they go, he's got one too.
Yes.
And we can fix those with aligners. It's just huge. And so that's being able to access that stuff on the cloud so that people can say, look at my scan. It's like when we go to the optometrist and they take a scan of your retina.
Yes.
And you go, it looks like a map of the moon to me, but a scan of the teeth, they can work that out. So I can see a huge potential for Core, and I think this is something that Max is working on with CoTreat as well.
Most definitely. And if I could just add, there is a high level of concern about giving the patient too much data. And again, we've taken that challenge on. For example, giving a patient a quick 2-click treatment plan that has all the item codes, and some clinicians are concerned that they may take that piece of paper to another clinic. So within CorePractice, you can summarize. So you can summarize in as little or as many words as you like the kind of treatment that you're going to carry out or proposing. So it does make it, I mean, you want to keep your patient informed, but you don't want to give them too much information that maybe it's indecipherable, or they can do something with it and maybe shop it around. So, you still have full control over how you communicate with your patients. And a big one as well in CorePractice. And I recall going to a lecture many moons ago, and someone standing up there saying, I feel the number was about $70. Average, a dentist per procedure will leave $70 on the table in unclaimed health fund codes, where we're not suggesting that they haven't done the work, where they've done the work and maybe haven't put the right codes in. So within CorePractice, you can have your standard treatments, and when you click on that standard treatment, all the item codes that you've overviewed, like it's all with you, that you've overviewed, are on that invoice, so that every piece of work that you've done, you're being rewarded for.
Yeah, I guess it's important if you're basing your work on dealing with a third party and having to claim the codes. It's interesting. I was just talking to Jane last night, and I remembered in my first year out playing golf on a dental golf day with a doctor, and this is 1983, and he said, I don't work with Medicare. He said, they just pay me. And I go, geez, how does that work?
Yeah.
He said, I have no relationship with Medicare. I charge my fee based on my fee. And in discussions with someone yesterday, we were talking about in America, the practices that are insurance based. The insurance company says it's been a tough year. We're not putting any increase in your rebates. Actually, we're going to drop your income by 15%. We're cutting all our payments to dentists back by 15%. And you're on contract with us. So all of a sudden, you've just had 15% of your income just slashed.
Yeah.
And that guy never looked in a mouth. He sits there in a high office overlooking Manhattan or Sydney Harbour, and he just decides, he says, oh, red pen here, red pen there, red pen there. We've made more profit. And that's a really tough way to practice. Interesting, but
we touched on it before about sort of CorePractice being global. And one of our learnings, and I like to think that I now know what I don't know, but every day I'm learning new things that I didn't realize I had to know about. But CorePractice in Australia is one of the most complex. I guess Australia as a country has one of the most complex health fund systems and processes in the world. So when we are going to other markets, sort of New Zealand's quite complex as well, but other markets sort of into Asia and the UK, we've done it all before. So it's easy to adapt. And I guess the technologies now, like National Health in the UK, they've got their online claiming. So we're currently working with integrating with that. In the Philippines, it's minimal. In Malaysia, it's minimal. In Vietnam, I think it's virtually non-existent. There's a couple of things, but they use vouchers. So it seems like we've started in the toughest market, which was just situational, I guess, and expanding into those other fields and learning regularly. In fact, something we learned about the Philippines, I can't recall if I shared this with you, but in the Philippines, a dental clinic works like a hairdresser, or a male hairdresser, should I say, like a barber. So you just walk in and take a seat, and then you're like third or fourth next in line. They don't make appointments as such. So and the dentists really don't like it. They come out at maybe 5:30, the clinic's closing at 6, and it's like, just shut the doors. We can't take any more patients. And they end up working sort of later in the evening. And one clinic that we put on in Boracay, Philippines, a tourist plug for Boracay. It's a beautiful place. The practitioner there absolutely loves it. So they have in CorePractice now an iPad in the reception, and the patients come in, they just direct them to the iPad. They choose their appointment and they say, oh, there isn't any more appointments today. Okay, well, book in for tomorrow. And the practitioner now is going at home at a civilized time each day, spending time with the family. So it's interesting how the software has changed one life there in particular.
Yeah, I started dentistry when the appointment book was pencil and rubber, and that was it. And I said to my first boss, I said, "So what's with it? Monday morning, walk in and we got 5 people in the waiting room." He said, "Oh," I said, "10 years ago we used to have 20 people in the waiting room first thing
Yeah,
Monday morning." I go, "How do you plan your day that way?"
yeah,
If you got 5, if you got 20, how long is it going to take? All these people with just spontaneous toothaches.
yeah. It's amazing. Every time, 3 weeks ago, one of the guys down in Melbourne found another one on paper. We think that we've got the last one, and then another one pops up. So there are clinics still using paper. And what comes with that paper is all of the manual work to get one of those patients into the dental chair. You've got to call them. You're using paper forms. Are you reading those medical history forms? Software, just pricing starts from $200 to have all of your a month to have all of your software on the cloud with that appointment book, with loads of other features, up to $400 a month. $400 a month is the maximum to run your clinic with all of those benefits that I've spoken about already, and we'll, talk about more. I'm sure in the remainder of this catch up. There's no excuse not to be on the cloud, and also very difficult. And generally, they are, should I say, older practitioners, very difficult to sell a paper clinic or get the true value of that business if you're using paper.
Who's to know for the buyer what the
Yeah.
practice is really doing if it's all reliant on paper records and then uploaded into a pen and ink ledger? Who's
You're
to know?
exactly right.
So, did I hear you correctly? Did you say it's maximum $400 per month to be like
Yeah.
a platinum client of
To have
CorePractice?
everything, to have all your updates automated. We sort of roll out updates every 2 to 4 weeks, integrating other partners.
Mark, $400 a month maximum. You must have a huge waiting list of people waiting their turn to become clients of CorePractice.
It really is picking up. We're moving 20 clinics a month now from server-based systems. And I feel it's the same for us. Dental clinics have that challenge of communicating with their patients, what type of dentistry they do so that they can keep their patients informed. And we have the same challenge. I feel a lot of dental clinics have these preconceived ideas that it's going to be hard to move off my sort of server-based system and the restrictions that come with it into technology. As I said, we do this 20 times a month. We have a team that does this. In the majority of cases, we bring all of your data across, so you don't have to worry. The business continuity, there is zero downtime. So we generally pull your data. We show you your data in CorePractice and what you can do with that data. And that's, I say to get to that point, we don't charge you to get to that point. We show you your data in CorePractice, what the capabilities are. And then if you're keen to move forward, then we charge you for that part. There's obviously what we call a migration fee that can vary up to $2,000 depending on what system you're coming from. And then we choose a go live date, generally in a month's time. We could do it the next day, but generally in a month's time. And then we take the responsibility to train your team, whatever their responsibility, whether they're DA, front desk, marketing, clinical. We train them. We have an online learning platform where they watch a series of videos, answer questions, and then complete tasks in the software. The practice owner or whoever is managing this transition has full transparency over all of their team, what elements they've completed, how long they've been on there, so that we get you ready for that go live day. And then the day before the go live day that we've chosen, we pull the data once more, update it with all appointments, all financials, everything, and then you go live. In that interim as well, we connect up with all of your x-rays. You don't have to do a thing. All of your x-rays, if it's a compatible digital scanner. But nowadays, we're finding that if you've bought technology in the last 10, 15 years, it's compatible. It's compatible with the cloud and, seamlessly integrated. There's a lot of practices out there that are typing in names into not only their PMS, then they manually type in the name into their x-ray system because it's not integrated. So they're running multiple systems. With CorePractice, you can run these multiple systems, but because it's fully integrated, it feels as one. It feels that you're running with one system. You want to take an intraoral, it opens up the software. You want to go into your zero, it automatically opens up the software.
So
Seamless.
is there a CRM associated with CorePractice as well?
So for that pre-patient, we're working on a CRM system, a simple CRM system for when that before that patient becomes a patient. But we have practices that are integrating with Salesforce, integrating with HubSpot. There's a product called Go High Level that maybe people will know about, where they can custom their own CRM. I mean, really, it's all about trying to, and I bring this up as an example, and we are working on something, should have something in the coming months that you know, or you should know the traffic to your website. So let's just say 500 people visit you in a month and you know you got 50 online bookings. So where did those other 450 patients go? What did they click on? What did they look at? And why aren't we communicating to say, David, you clicked on and looked at whitening? You know, there are capabilities out there that allows us to communicate with you on that whitening if we gathered your information and we put you in that funnel till you become a patient.
Yeah, very, very important, because other businesses do it. I'm sick of trying to click ads off while I'm watching videos on my phone, and all of a sudden I've got a thanks for being interested in the pool. And I'm going, I don't even have a pool to be clean, but that capability in dentistry is important because, and I was just saying this to the dentist that I had lunch with yesterday, nobody wakes up on a Monday morning, Mark, and says, I've got $500 left over from the weekend. I'm going to go down to the dentist and see what they've got on special today. And they do search, and we can track their searches and say, hey, you were interested in whitening. So that's a good opportunity for I guess the pencil and rubber dentist and the paper file dentist to say, can I really do that? Rather than, how many people have we had that have inquired about whitening? How many people in our practice know we do whitening as well? All that sort of stuff. I was going to ask you another question about, because you I guess you see the dentist coming on board. How many dentists actually have a structured appointment book with templates and pre-blocks so that they actually maximize their output for the day? Or do they just run it like the classic before and after, the before image of a wardrobe company ad? It's like, let's just put as much in there as we can and we had a good day, as opposed to planning and saying, we do 20 crowns a month. Why don't we do one a day and make every day smooth? How many actually pre-block their appointment books, or do they just jam them in wherever?
It's interesting. I guess our team is, and we've learned this over the years, the main reason why I guess a practice wouldn't have it pre-templated is because they haven't got a clue how to fill it with those treatments. So, it's great to have, we want 15 crowns, but if you don't know where to find those crowns or 15 implants, it's good, then you can't populate it. So a lot of them just give the full reign of their clinic to the front desk lady. And what happens there is your revenue just spikes and drops from month to month. You may have a full appointment book, but how much is it actually worth? So with CorePractice, we talk about, and it only works if you talk openly, we talk about the revenue that you have been earning in the past. And I guess and we do what we call a health check, when that data comes across, it's transparent to see. And we have the conversation with, do you want to, and it's not all about the revenue, but do you want to do more implants? Do you want to do more clear aligners? And the obvious answer is yes. And, a lot of the clinicians want to do their implants first thing in the morning when they're fresh. It's more of a complex treatment. And those treatments that are not so complex, you can do them later in the afternoon when you're a little bit frazzled or maybe tired. So in CorePractice, if you want to have clear aligner cases, it's pretty automated. You can find those clear aligner cases. How do we do that? Well, we know the ideal demographic of a clear aligner patient, whether it be by age or by sex, and we can invite them into the clinic via the ability to book an appointment online for, say, a 15-minute health fund only consult. And something that works even better is that the more you can personalize that message to your patient, the higher the chance is that you're going to gain interest. Something we found that is really popular and works well is that if you can drop the benefit of their health fund into a text, encouraging them to make an appointment, it works really well. So one example is Teachers Health Fund. From what I'm aware, Teachers Health Fund members receive $1,000 a year towards orthodontic treatment that compounds for 3 years. So any of your patients that are with Teachers Health Fund could have up to $3,000 sitting there to be used on clear aligners. So imagine if you got a text, David, hey, David, are you aware as a Teachers Health Fund member, you may have up to $3,000 sitting there to put towards orthodontic treatment. Book now for a health fund only consult. They click on it, choose a slot that is comfortable for them, and make a booking. They get sent all their automations. They come into the clinic. And then now we start to measure, we get 8 of those. How many of those convert into an actual appointment? So if we're getting 8 out of 8, then great. If we're only getting 2 out of 8, 25%, and I want 4, I've got to see 16 to get 4 clear aligners. And it's just all about sort of reverse engineering it. If I want to earn this amount of money, I need 10 clear aligners, 10 implants, 10 crowns, whatever that amount looks like. And then how do I get them in, and where do I find the patients? It is a science. It is a science. And then you start looking at yourself. Well, why am I only converting 2 out of 8 patients? And yet all the data is in your practice. There's another dentist that is getting exactly the same patients, and yet they're converting 6 out of 8. So we get those two to chat to each other. You know, there's a buddy system. Share what it is that you're doing, because I've got the same front. I could go into the clinic and maybe share my words of wisdom, but they're sort of thinking, well, Mark doesn't have to put up with the front desk. You know, I've got that dodgy x-ray, the chair, the lights, the noise. But if it's a fellow colleague working in exactly the same environment, then the results should be very similar. And sometimes
Should be very similar, yes.
it's just wording, the tools that you're using, making it affordable. And every clinic should have, we're segueing a little bit, but have some kind of finance tool that will help their patient accept treatment. And the other one that is a must is every single clinic should have online booking. The amount of conversations I've had with dentists say, my patients don't want online booking. Hot Doc have done surveys, Health Engine. It's around 70% of patients prefer to book online. And if they're 10 o'clock at night and they're trying to find you that they've been loyal to for 10 years and they can't book online, and the next guy underneath you can book online and they know they can fix their pain within hours, they're, you know, sadly, they're going to go. But myself, you know, unless I really want to go to a restaurant, if I can't find online booking, I'll just go to the next one. Great, I'm booked. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it's weird that dentists resist the thing that is already established in other industries. And so that online booking convenience is very, very important. And again, it goes back to knowing your numbers, Mark. If you are seeing 60 new patients a month, that's 3 per day. Are you putting slots in your appointment book for those 3 people to book on the same day? Why not?
Right.
You know, and they say, oh, well, what if they don't book? Well, there are ways of having another patient be able to come forward that I coach people on. And also there are also ways that the appointment before the open new patient appointment, you have somebody who needs a half-hour appointment, but they've got other work that could take an hour. And so if they turn up and you say, well, look, I can actually do an hour's worth of work today. Would you like to stay on? No patient ever says, no, I want to come back for more appointments. No patient says, do my fillings one at a time. If you can do 10 in one go, I'd be much happier. I only want to come once. I want to come as less. And the dentists aren't hearing that. So they're not even hearing that from their own patients. They just get in this fixed way. My patients are different. And they're not different. The only thing that the most common thing that I find about talking to the general public about their dentist, none of them, hardly any of them know their dentist's name, because all dental practices are now named Sunshine Dental or, you know, We Care Dental, and they've all got a tooth logo, and they have no idea that it's Dr. Burns or Dr. Moffet is the dentist anymore. And yet they give them the money.
You're exactly right. And you know, online booking, has progressed significantly, even just over the last couple of years. You can direct your patients to whichever dentist. You can have the rule in your clinic that one practitioner sees all the new patients. They've got a certain skill set that, allows them to make that new patient feel comfortable, or they're a good communicator as to what you do in the clinic. Again, if you have a promo, you can direct certain promotions or treatments towards individual dentists. All of those dentists as well will have their own time frames. So we were chatting earlier, some dentists may do one procedure in 40 minutes, the other one may take an hour. So as they book in with those individual dentists, it populates the appointment book accordingly.
It is important, I think, for practice owners and for associate dentists and hygienists to see who's producing what on average per day, per week, per month, because we only have a set number of hours in the day, all of us, and we've got to maximize our return on our time. Otherwise, and you'll see it, practices where associate dentists are earning less than the hygienists for the practice. And so why bother having an associate dentist if they're underproducing, underdiagnosing, and underpresenting the dentistry that's all there? I made the mistake many years ago of telling a periodontist that I didn't have any patients in my practice that had periodontal disease. What an idiot I was. What a stupid thing to say. I just interviewed a periodontist in Connecticut, and he just published an article on LinkedIn. He said 50% of patients in a dental practice have periodontal disease, and only 3% of those are getting periodontal treatment. So there's undone work straight away. That is in bleeding on probing, all these things. But people don't even write that in their notes to get people to come back. It's always just to clean, and they're the ones that cancel. Using that software, key phrases in the terminology of the treatment and the patient notes, and for the receptionist to be able to draw that out easily and say, this is why this patient has to come back when they ring up to cancel or ring up to defer an appointment. They're deferring on their health. And that's my passion, having hung up my drill 12 years ago. My passion is making sure that undone dentistry isn't considered like cleaning the garage. You can do it any time. It's pretty much the same. What goes on in here is hostile. And so that's, if the software backs that up, if the dentist can read the huddle notes the night before and then come in and do the huddle knowing what they're talking about, then we keep the appointment books full. And that's really what dentistry is about. And especially in this climate that we have, where people are putting it off for financial reasons, they're putting off their health financial reasons.
Most definitely. And they're really, I understand if you're starting out, you're trying to promote your business through whatever means, sponsoring the local football club, going on social media. I guess the uptake is not as fast. But if you've got a database of thousands of patients, dropping that database into CorePractice, setting up a series of automations, allowing our team to understand what dentistry you're doing in your clinic, and setting up automations to communicate to your patients what dentistry you're doing in your clinic, pointing them through to online booking, you will fill your appointment book. And then through the automation, to make sure that 95% of them actually turn up, it's all in the software, and we've got the data, and we know what works and what doesn't. And sometimes I have meetings, and people disagree with the wording that we use, and it's, well, you can't argue with data.
No, you can't.
As I said, we got 5 in it. You may disagree with that wording. The big one is, if you have the note of, we're just confirming your appointment, click yes. Ours allows you to free form type, but a lot of them repeat yes, that you're coming for an appointment, or call the clinic to cancel. People, remove that, call the clinic to cancel. If they're going to cancel, they will find a way. They will let you know. But you can imagine, a wet, cold afternoon, no one wants to go to the clinic, and you've just been told you can cancel. Oh, wow. I'll just cancel and I'll come back another time when it's not so wet. There's just one little bit that'll save you 10, 15% cancellations.
Of course it does. It's funny. Jane always told dental practices that patients hate to be confirmed, and they hate to be reminded. They're grown-ups. They should know this stuff. They make the appointment, and we learned it from a restaurant that we used to dine at. When we booked the restaurant, they say, "Oh, that booking is now confirmed." At the time we made the appointment, it's confirmed. We don't hold it for 6 months and then confirm it 2 days before.
Yes.
You're right. It's about the language. Mark, we've run out of time, but there's more to talk about. Your core practice has a prime position at the ADX this month, at the end of the month, in Darling Harbour in Sydney. And I think anybody who's not got a cloud-based dental practice software should be lining up to see you in Tech Alley at ADX. How do they find you? Where is Tech Alley? It's right in the middle, isn't it?
Yeah, so we are the second biggest area. We've got CorePractice and all of our partners with the technology. And all I ask is for the opportunity for us to share our story. So if you're unsure about whether to move to the cloud, give us a call, jump on the website, book an appointment for a demo. One of our team will show you the capabilities of CorePractice. And it's very, very different. You're getting a quality product that is secure from both your associates and staff and from outsiders. And it's far more functional with automations, and you're leveraging on the benefit of, communication and treatment of 5.5 million patients. It's just getting better and better constantly. We're learning more about our patients and what they will accept, how they will react. So please allow us the opportunity to show you, and come down to Tech Alley. It's a lot of fun. We have live music, we've got food, we've got drinks, we've got lectures on during the day with the silent disco headphones. Come and say hello. If you're wondering where we are, if you look up, we've got a massive banner, Tech Alley, and we're right underneath it.
Perfect. And the website is corepractice.com.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. And there's a form there they can.
There is book a demo. It's
book a demo.
Right. Where book an appointment should be on a dental website. It's right there in bright orange. Can't miss it. Book a demo and our team will be in touch.
All right. Well, Mark Burns, thank you very much for being a guest today on the Ultimate Dental Podcast. I've learned a lot, and I hope my viewers and listeners as well have learned that they can't hang on to old technology, paper and pencils and rubbers forever. They must get into the cloud, and CorePractice is the way to go.
It is. Just to finalize that, we're doing it every day in our personal life. We've all got a smartphone. We're all communicating with our partners and friends digitally on the cloud. Bring it into your clinic. Let your patients have a bit of it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark Burns.
Thanks, David. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another inspiring episode of the Ultimate Dental Podcast. We appreciate each and every one of you for being part of our dental community and joining us each week on this incredible journey. If you found value in today's episode and you don't want to miss out on future episodes packed with expert insights and actionable strategies, here's how you can stay You'll never miss an episode. Secondly, share the love. If you know a fellow dentist or colleague who could benefit from the wisdom and knowledge that we share here, please share our podcast with them. Also, please share the podcast on your socials by simply clicking on the social icons wherever you view or listen to this podcast. Together, we can all do our bit to elevate the dental profession. And finally, stay engaged with us. We love hearing from you. Your questions, comments, and feedback fuel our mission to provide the best content for your professional growth, your personal growth, and for your practice growth. Remember, your journey to creating a dental practice and a business life that you love is our mission, and we're excited to be your trusted guide along the way. Thank you for being a part of the Ultimate Dental